Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one! Another one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in on this Tuesday to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. Kevin Brockway joining me as he does from CNHI Papers. Kevin, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. John, the producer's got us under the way, so we're off and running. Another decent day. It looks like it's going to be a little, maybe a little under the norm as far as temperatures, but nothing to complain about.
No, and we've got basketball a week away, the 9th. Indiana versus Eastern Michigan. It's crazy to think Mike Woodson's first official game. I guess they had a secret scrimmage over the weekend, faced Belmont, won by 11, made their free throws, so that's a positive sign. And just moving forward to what should be shapes up to be a very interesting first season for Mike Woodson.
Actually, it seems like forever. Because with the games back in the Bahamas, what seems like months and months ago, but it's here. Yeah, it's around the corner. So fans have been waiting, but I think that with the 2 games that are, or 3 games actually, that are under their belt, having won all 3, I think things are going to open without problem. Indiana should be just fine. It should be a typical Indiana team. So I don't think there's anything to worry about if you're a fan. They're just interested to see what it's going to be like, to see this product, as are we all, to see the product on the floor, Kevin, to see who's going to be doing what and all of that. But it's going to be interesting to see them in live action.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see the offensive and defensive concepts, how they're executed. They are facing some teams early in the season that they should handle. St. John's will be a very interesting game at Assembly Hall on November 17th with Julian Champagne back. That will be a bit of an early test. And then, obviously Syracuse in the Big Ten ACC, and then you get Notre Dame in the Crossroads, who are improved. But the remainder of that schedule is extremely manageable, as we've mentioned before. Marshall could be a sneaky good team around Thanksgiving weekend, but you've got to see, I think, what fans are probably looking for a growth, particularly from game to game. The comfort level, developing a rotation, developing a dependable rotation. The point guard play, how is it going to be with Xavier Johnson and Rob Finney? How are they going to divvy up the minutes there? Will Christian Lander get in the mix a little bit as well? I think these are all things that you can kind of sort out during the non-conference schedule so that when you get to the teeth of the Big Ten in January, you're going to have more of a settled team.
Absolutely. But I also think that knowing who is behind the reins on this, there's going to be a little more comfort, a little less angst, a little less gnashing of the teeth, just more sitting back and waiting for things to take place, because you've got a guy at the helm who has been an NBA head coach, who has been in the NBA, who has tons of experience and has guys behind him with tons of experience that I think the fans have a lot of confidence in. So it's going to be a lot more. I think it's going to be a lot more comfortable for fans going into this season, a little more relaxed, I think, instead of as much angst, like I said. But there will be some games early on to put that to the test. The Dave Gavitt games, the ACC Challenge, and things of that nature. The last game in the Crossroads Classic against Notre Dame. So, of course, that's a game that Indiana wants to. You never want to lose the last game in a series, and I'll tell you why. Yesterday, it reminds me of yesterday, Kevin. We were at the weekly football Monday pressers, and I kind of forget, because it's from my era of being when I was actually in college. But I looked over to the trophy case, and this wouldn't mean anything to you, but I see the old bourbon barrel that was exchanged between Kentucky and Indiana for the football series. And Indiana currently has that unless there were two of them, but I don't believe that there were. So Indiana currently has that because they won the last game, and which was a long time ago now because they stopped that series. So they still have that trophy. So
the Bourbon Bowl. Yeah. And then
bourbon barrel, but
the
bourbon bowl. You're thinking of water boy.
I think of the water boy. Yeah. But and Indiana holds the bucket too, of course. But that will be decided again at the end of the month. And the pandemic allowed Indiana to hold the bucket for another year, so they've had it in Bloomington for 2 years now, going on 2 years, which is always interesting. But and just getting back to basketball. When you talked about more relaxed, I think it's going to be more relaxed for the players as well. I mean, I think
it already is. Already is, my friend.
Yeah. And I think with, Mike Woodson is giving the players freedom. With that freedom comes a little bit of responsibility as well in order to make the right reads and make the right moves. But a less set-oriented offense, a more free-flowing offense, that's what I'm going to be interested to see too, is how that will translate into points, into baskets. The fact that you're going to have guards be able to make multiple decisions on the floor.
Man, we got everybody jumping on already. Dwayne's on. Michael, the music man, 5 lefts. RT Hoosier. There's the truth. Robert Carter saying good mornings. He'll be saying send money, send food soon. Forrest. Damn, man. Everybody. Got more yet. There's Ross. He's down there in Southern Kentucky. And talk about Southern, I love to say this. I love it when Doug comes after Ross. Doug's listening down under in Australia. Hello, mate. Thanks for tuning in from Australia. So Pete, up north, got him from up north all the way down to Australia, from Minnesota to Australia right now, Kevin. So appreciate everybody jumping on board already, man. You guys are jumping in here and early. We appreciate you, as always. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Last night, World Series. The Astros, that was a good game. Man, I tuned in a little late because I was watching something else. And I get it, turned it over by the third inning. There are already 2 pitchers been ran out and 9 runs had been scored. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Wow. What the hell happened in the first stanza of that ball game last night, man?
Yeah, that was Sunday night, and the Braves bullpen kind of imploded a little bit, but you've got a situation now where it's a 3-2 series and 2 for Houston at home, and in a World Series you love to see Game 7, right? That's the ultimate.
Of course.
So you want it, you'd like to see Houston win tonight and get it to that Wednesday game. It's amazing the season is stretching all the way to November. I mean, here we are November 2nd, and we still have baseball going on. Usually everything is wrapped up and decided by October, but I do think that the Astros, that lineup, I mean, if it wakes up, Charlie Morton being injured in that second game, now the Braves starting pitching is a little shakier going into those last 2 games. And that ballpark, do they still call it Minute Maid, or I don't know what they call it, but the ball flies out of there. It's going to be, I think these next 2 games are going to be a slugfest. But I think the Braves have shown that, they can definitely hit with the Astros if they have to. But ultimately, it comes down to pitching, particularly those last 3 innings.
There's Donald jumping on. I still owe Donald a visor. God, I'm carrying his address in my wallet because I owe him a visor. Trust me, I know it. Don't think I've forgotten. Appreciate you guys jumping on. Doug from down under says the Bourbon Bowl bearded lady from Lawrenceburg, and that must be Australian speak, Doug. I don't know what that means. Tim says that the Rams traded their 2nd and 3rd round picks for Von Miller of Denver.
I saw that, last night. Rams are going for it, you know what I mean? And they're a big market team, and they've got now that defense with Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and Jarvis Landry. Wow. I mean, that's
I grew up a Rams fan, L.A. Rams fan. When they moved to St. Louis, I dropped them like a bad habit. I don't know why, but it did. But it's so funny. If I could find the picture, it would crack you up. I'm probably 9 years old, and I remember this because for Christmas I got a Rams coat, a toboggan. It was the scarf, and the cologne from Avon with the ball on top of it. The whole, I mean, I had that all the way through like 10th, 11th grade, man. I was rolling with that. I was kicking it. It was awesome. First morning I had it, though, I climbed the fence and tore the sleeve on that Rams coat.
Remember Vince Ferragamo and Dieter Brock and
Vince Ferragamo. I'm talking Pat Hayden, baby. Jack Youngblood, Jackie Slater. The
Hannah, right?
Yeah, the guys who Jack Ham played with a broken fibia in a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
you're nuts. These guys are crazy.
Eric Dickerson. Did you?
Eric Dickerson. Yep. Oh, he was. Yep. Eric Dickerson. Oh, Joe Namath.
Yeah,
Joe Namath ended his career. Didn't he end his career with the Rams?
Yep, 1 year he played there.
Just something, man. But so the World Series winding down. College football is in the midst. So now we've got on the back half of the college football season now. So coming up this week, let me see. Let me pull up the Big Ten games just so we can chat about that for a second. But see what all is coming up. Oh, come on now. There we go. Big Ten. So, of course, we already know Indiana, but the Ohio State Buckeyes, they travel to Nebraska, which, that shouldn't be much. But, Nebraska's been playing better, and you get them in an environment. But
Nebraska just lost to Purdue.
Yeah. Illinois travels to Minnesota, and Minnesota all of a sudden, leader in the clubhouse right now of the Western Division, they need this game desperately because they're hanging on to a lead here. Michigan State will travel. Now, here's a big game. Number 5, Michigan State out of the East will travel to Purdue. Michigan State, I'll be honest with you, really surprised that they beat Michigan, Kevin.
Yeah, and they came back to do it. And Kenneth Walker was amazing, 5 touchdowns. He burst through, and I think that Mel Tucker, he's Big Ten Coach of the Year, obviously, and there'll be a lot of rumors about him in the offseason as far as maybe going to the SEC, maybe going to LSU, or maybe
USC
even
hired a coach yet?
Maybe even going out west to USC. We'll see. I think that, and I mentioned this yesterday, another guy in the Big Ten that I think might be a fit for USC would be PJ Fleck.
Why?
I just think his enthusiasm, his offensive mind, running the football. He's always had good running backs up there at Minnesota. That fits into USC.
They've lost 3 running backs this year.
And they're still running the ball effectively. They've got a good offensive line. They're coming here November 20th, obviously, which is what will be a big game for them. And we'll see if it's a big game for Indiana. Doubtful, but you never know. If Indiana springs the upset against Michigan, they keep the bowl hopes alive. But to see if that happens, that's going to be a tall order for this team that really hasn't shown that they can be. They showed last week they could be competitive in the Big Ten against a lesser opponent. But and certainly they showed against Michigan State when they were healthier. But this is a team that's banged up and out, down to the third-string quarterback. They just did not survive that early gauntlet physically. Now the back half is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, let's see. Michigan State at Purdue. That's going to be an interesting game because I still don't think Michigan State is. Indiana should have beat Cincinnati and Michigan State. That will just be there all season long. It could have easily beat both of those teams. And the fact that they're having the success that they are having, it blows my mind. But Michigan State going to Purdue, that's I don't know. That's I'm sure that Michigan State might be favored in that game, but it can't be by much.
Well, Purdue is kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team, too. Don't forget.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Went to Iowa. They won at Iowa. Then they come home and they lose to Minnesota. Then they, lose at home to Wisconsin. Purdue hasn't played particularly well at home. They've played better on the road, but they beat Nebraska. So
hey, we're late for a break. Do we have a guest up next?
Mike.
Let's take a break real quick because we got to take a break while we're over. We've got Mike DeCourcy joining us next. Hey, don't forget our good folks at Southern Stone Restaurant, home of the IU basketball and football coaches shows. The Tom Allen show is tomorrow night. Next Monday starts the Mike Whitson show at the corner of Patterson and Rogers. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration, we'll get back to those. I looked up and I was like, "Daggone, you got that's when you got to yell at me, John. If we get rolling like that, just yell at me."
I sent you a text. I guess that was too late.
A text doesn't matter. Just come on and say, "Hey, you guys going to ignore Mike, the great Mike DeCourcy today?" And I'll say, "No, I got to get out of here." Oh, look at that! Is that a jacket or a vest?
It's like a quarter zip kind of pullover thing.
It looks very warm.
It's not super warm. It's just warm enough.
He's showing the voice.
The logo's bigger on this than I expected it to be, I will say. It's bigger than I usually go for, but
hey man, go big or go home, Mike. Go big or go home. What's a bit Big Ben looked like Big Ben again a little bit, didn't he?
He did. He played well. You know, it was a gutsy win for sure.
Oh man.
And thank you to the Jets.
Yes.
Yeah,
Jets. One of the best.
Talk about them yet? I can't wait to talk about the job. I was like, "Are you? What the hell?" I'm like, "Is the sky falling?"
You know, that was one of the best games of the year, and I was stuck in my car all day. But people were calling me up.
Oh no!
As I was driving through Georgia, people were calling me and texting me and all excited. But and I tried to get Sirius radio for my car, my rental car. And
I was going to say,
keep on screwing up. You know what I mean? And then a friend said, "Oh, try the app." And I tried the app, and the service, it wouldn't provide for the service as I was driving through South Georgia. But
what were you doing in Georgia?
I went down to Gainesville for a funeral for a memorial service. So I drove down on Friday, and I went to the memorial service on Saturday. And then I went to Spurrier's. I stayed in Gainesville for the weekend and drove back on Sunday.
You stayed with Steve Spurrier?
No, I mean, it was the day of the Florida-Georgia game, so he was there. But that's a cool little spot. There's a lot of cool stuff there. Yeah. They've developed that whole celebration point area, which is really nice. It was a lot of fun. So it was good. I reconnected with a lot of friends on Saturday. That was fun. I mean, the memorial service in the morning was not fun, but I made a weekend of it, and it was good. So,
good.
Yeah.
Mike, when you go to the regular TSN site, where are you under?
I don't have a tab.
Okay.
College
I normally
tab.
pull you up, and today I just went straight to the site instead.
Yeah, if you go to the far right, there's like those three dots, and then there's the down. You go down halfway, and the college hoops tab is there.
All right, here we go.
Or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Don't forget, if you're looking for a vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington has got all the deals you need. And man, oh man, do they have them. 0% down, 0% APR financing on new 2021 Honda Pilots and Honda Passports. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Joining us now, the great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. Mike, how are you, sir?
I am very well. How are you, Jim?
Great. Got as Kevin along as always, and lots of fun things for you guys to talk about this week. Because first of all, I don't know what in the world is the sky falling. The Jets have beaten. Not only did they beat the Titans early, but now they turn around and beaten the Bengals. What the hell is going on in this world, Kevin?
Well, it was the new quarterback. Mike White was extremely effective, and even though he threw a few picks, they had a goal line stand, and they just kept battling back. It was a great offensive performance and a good performance by a quarterback that has been riding the pine, and who knows, maybe they found their franchise quarterback. He's from Western Kentucky, so they like to pass down there. And as we know, when we went down there in September, but he's a good. He's got some accuracy. I mean, I think people eventually figure him out. But for now, you maybe ride the hot hand, and we'll see what he does up in Indy against the Colts.
Just stop and think about this, both of you, everybody. The saving grace to the New York Jets is a quarterback from Western Kentucky, from down in the hills of Kentucky. Are you kidding me? The Broadway lights, it seems so no way, but maybe it's Joe Namath-esque. I don't know.
Well, Joe was from Western Pennsylvania, where I'm from. And then went to Alabama. He was a little bit bigger star than Mike was coming out of college, so I'm not sure it's exactly the same.
Not quite. And the Steelers, man, Big Ben looking bigger again.
Yeah, he played well, and it was a really gutty win for the Steelers. The defense was really effective. Cleveland did not play well, dropped some passes that might have been maybe not game changers, but would have kept drives alive and maybe put the Steelers in greater trouble. And of course, the Steelers had the world's worst fake field goal of all time that knocked their kicker out of the game. Let me tell you, the officiating in that game, I was rewatching the game yesterday while I was on the treadmill, and it was hard to watch because there were so many bad calls in that game. It was among the more poorly officiated games I have ever seen.
And it's getting worse. And I don't know, is it because of instant replay or I don't know, but it's getting the NFL is getting really, really, really bad when it comes to officiating.
Yeah, there are basic things that used to be
pass interference.
Always caught.
Pass interference.
Pass interference they struggle with. That's a hard one. But basic stuff like early moving off the line early. What is not offside. There was a play in last night's Kansas City game where it was late and it was important. A Giants defensive end jumped, but it didn't look like he jumped over the line. He just moved, and he didn't move far enough forward. It did not seem to break the line, but the ref reacted to the movement. And that stuff never happened 10 years ago. They miss false starts all the time. Guys jumping early to get a jump on a great defensive end. Something, the offensive tackle pulling back before the snap, trying to beat the count. They never used to miss that stuff, and they miss it all the time now. I don't think there's enough accountability in NFL officiating. Too many of the best people involved in officiating are now on television. Gene Steratore, who used to be an NFL ref and who now works for CBS, tweeted after I mentioned that fake field goal. Well, at the end of that fake field goal play, Boswell throws the pass and it's incomplete, and he gets lit up by a helmet to the chin that gives him a concussion, and it was probably late, but it was certainly brutal, and it was without a doubt a personal foul, up roughing the passer, and they didn't call it. And that stuff just didn't used to happen. And again, there's no accountability for that at the NFL level. I don't think Steratore said that was definitely a foul. He tweeted it out. It was late, a little marginally late, but definitely above and beyond in terms of the helmet to the chin. And I tweeted, "You should still be reffing, man. We might not have these problems."
A lot less stress for him and probably a lot more money.
Yes, and he doesn't have to fly all over the place. He just goes to one place, probably in New York, I assume,
yep.
And just rolls on. And he's a good guy. I think the NFL misses him, but I think what the NFL really misses is really the effective administration that they had in previous iterations with people like Dean Blandino. I think at this point they've gone too long with their current group and are not getting effective oversight, and there's not enough accountability for NFL refs.
I think there needs to be more transparency. I think their mics should be live when they're discussing.
Yeah, that's calls. A good point. They do a lot of talking now. and a lot more talking than they used to. And that's suggestive to me of lack of certainty.
Yes.
It didn't used to take an hour to call a simple play. And, there was a flag picked up in the Steelers-Browns game on Sunday where the defensive lineman threw his body over Roethlisberger, then kneed him in the head, brought his knee up into the helmet, and they flagged it, and probably should. And then there was a discussion, they picked it up. I don't know, I don't know exactly what's going on in those conversations, but I think they'd have a hard time if they did have to have their mics on. I think you're right. I think that they would have a lot of difficult time explaining decisions like that.
I can't remember what game it was, but a defender, he's a defensive back, he was called for a helmet hit. It was late in a game that was very effective, but he was maybe 8 inches off of the ground. He was going down so low. The defender had started his trajectory down low first, which is what you're supposed to do. And you cannot control an offensive player coming down. And I'm like, that drives me insane.
Well, that was in the Jets-Bengals game. It was Mike Hilton of the Bengals who did that. And it was not a great call, but it also has some justification because Hilton had his helmet down and forward. You can't do that. That's exactly what they're trying to stop you from doing. You have to have your head up. And if you have your head up and then that offensive player brings the helmet down, it's not a problem. That's what they're trying to get away from, that down helmet, because it's partly about concern for the offensive player, but it's mostly about concern for the defensive player. There have been so many significant injuries.
Yes.
And that's what they're trying to get rid of. And so I understood that, although it was kind of soft, because, again, the offensive player brought his helmet down into that range. One of the reasons the offensive players do that is because it prevents them from getting a helmet to the knee and having, and losing their season, basically. And that's so when Hilton went down with his helmet and had it straight forward, that puts the offensive player in some jeopardy, and that's why they do those things. It's not really the offensive player's fault. If Hilton is going in there with his shoulder and his head up, then it's not a problem.
We'll get to this tidbit in a minute about Romeo, but also the Colts, man, they lost a game that they just absolutely had to have. And you could have just watched the beginning of that game and the end of that game and saw all you needed to see, because everything happened at the start and at the end. But that interception in the end zone was just I don't know what you call it. I don't want to call it stupid because I hate to use that word, but that was stupid. Just dumb. And they still were almost able to get out of that. But man, they fought so hard to get back, and just, they kind of gave it all away right there in that game.
Well, people are still dragging Dan Orlovsky, a decade later, for running out of the end zone, more or less on purpose, and giving his team a safety, thinking that he could evade the rush that way, sort of. And they're still dragging him about it. But, I mean, that as bad as that play was, it wasn't even close to this. I mean, trying to throw a left-handed pass out of your end zone, it was inexplicable. I mean, it was ridiculous. He had a chance, and you could see if you watch the replay, he tried to spike it as sometimes you'll see a quarterback do when a screen pass is getting blown up, and that may have been a screen, I'm not sure, but you try to throw it at the receiver's feet, and he started to do that, and he backed off that. At that point, once you back off and you're going down, you've got to take it. You got to take the safety and live with that. And instead, he handed 7 points, maybe the easiest 7 points any team in the NFL's ever gotten. And it just can't happen. And then he had an opportunity to redeem himself, and he throws into triple coverage in overtime. It was a really poor ending by Wentz in that game. And it cost them a real opportunity. I mean, they had a chance to be right in the thick of the division race, especially with Tennessee now compromised by the loss of Derrick Henry. And
And they held Henry in check all day too. They held him to what?
Well, yes,
70?
they held him in check, but partly because he was running on a broken foot.
Well, I didn't. Did he break it?
He broke it in the first quarter, I believe.
Oh,
and
well, there you go.
And he played the rest of that game. Now I don't know what the circumstances were, whether they didn't know or whether they just said, "Look, you're going to need surgery on this, so you can help us win this game," or but you're going to need surgery on this, and you're probably missing the rest of the year. So you can go out and finish. I don't know if that's what they said or something else, but he went out and played on it, and then, subsequent to the end of the game, they discover that it is, or they reveal that it is definitely a surgery requiring injury, and that he may miss the rest of the year.
In the NBA, good news for Romeo Langford is Boston has picked up his contract option. So that should make him feel good. That's getting that next contract is the big deal for NBA players. That second contract, I think that's usually where the money comes, right?
Well, what this does is it keeps him in the organization for another year. It's that second contract. It keeps him in the hunt for a second contract. But he's going to have to perform at a higher level than he has to this point. He's still averaging only 17 minutes a game and 5.5 points. This means they believe in Boston that there's more in him. But in order to get to that second deal, he's still going to have to start to produce either this year or next. And if not, he'll become, a fairly, he'll either become a player who struggles to keep a job in the league or fairly low paid. So these next 2 years are vital for Romeo to make a step forward.
I mean, he's kind of on the same path as Yogi Ferrell was, it seems like, who got a contract, but Yogi was actually starting some in the beginning, though, I guess, in his contracts.
Yeah, Yogi was a little different because he was a second-round pick, and so there wasn't the with the NBA, you get 2 years guaranteed, then options for 3 and 4, and I think 5. I think there's an option for 5, but it really jumps at 5. And so it's a little different. Yogi was able to get into a spot in Brooklyn where they needed a point guard, and so he got a lot of time and a lot of run, and that enabled him to build a portfolio, basically. And so it's a little different with Romeo. He has more time to build his career, but he's hitting that crucial period. Now that they've picked up year 4, that guarantees he's pretty much going to have till the end of the 22-23 season to show he's a legit NBA player. So there's plenty of time for him, but the clock is ticking. And to this point in his career, it has affected him to an extent of becoming into the league, obviously young, but also to be with a organization that has ambition. It's not a team that's rebuilding, developing. It's a team that expects to contend for deep runs into the playoffs. And so it's a little bit harder for him to get involved in the way that he'd like. And that, maybe he needs a break by someone getting hurt or whatever. But at some point soon, he's going to have to show what he's got as an NBA player. And it's hard really even to get a read on what he's got because his minutes have been so low. 15 and a half, 16 minutes last year, 17 minutes now. It's really hard to tell whether he's making the improvement he needs to make. Now, I mean, he's made an average of 50% of his 3-pointers this year, but it's 4 of 8. So what does that mean in the end? Is he on the right track with this shot? Because if he is, then he starts to become a useful player and he starts to get minutes. But it's hard to know for sure on such limited opportunities.
Yeah, Romeo has always been a mystery, actually, because he's never one that has big highs. It's just he seems quiet. Everything he does is kind of quiet. He always quietly affected the offense at Indiana. He does things very quietly. So like you said, he's not grabbing your attention, and usually improvement kind of gets your attention a little bit more rapidly than this.
Yeah, that's been the nature of his game since I saw him. I first saw him play at the under 19 trials for the World Championships. I guess that would have been 17, I think, year 2017. I'm not sure of the year, but I saw him out there for that, and it was exactly what I noticed about his game. It's very subtle. His ability as a facilitator. I mean, he doesn't make the flashy pass, but he makes the right pass. Wasn't a great shooter, but an effective shooter. Wasn't a David Thompson dynamic player, but had really good burst and really good hops. It just always has been that way. And the fact that he went after that freshman year, which wasn't effective, led him to being selected by a team, like I said, that in Boston, that isn't Minnesota, where they're just, let's get the young guy out on the floor and see if he can play, which is what they've been doing in Minnesota for like 20 years. But that gives a lot of young players the chance to show whether they can play or not. That's not been the case in Boston. Boston expects to play deep into the playoffs at this stage. And, that may be waning a little bit. We'll see. We haven't had enough games to this point to know what the Celtics will be. Obviously, things didn't go for them very well last night. But I think that's, I think the fact that they picked up the fourth year says a lot about their belief in him, because they didn't have to. I mean, there was no requirement. They think there's something there and something that could break through, because it's not an expensive option, but it's not cheap either. I mean, he's not a cheap player at that fourth year option. You can get, if you want somebody that you can just put on the floor or even just practice with. I mean, you can get somebody at the minimum. That's not what they're going to pay him next year. So they believe there's something there.
I'll sure take it. Hey, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the sporting news, preseason All-Americans, and more. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joining us, along with Kevin Brockway, CNHI Papers, back with more right after this. Brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda. Go to andymorehonda.com and get more to your door. We're back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Hey, we all need insurance.
Is this all did you put the entire team together, Mike?
Yes. Yeah, I do not do that for the postseason team. Postseason team is a collaborative effort with a lot of different basketball journalists and commentators from around the country. But for the preseason, it's not official, so I handle that.
Johnny Juzang. Paolo Banchero.
I think it's Banchero.
That is correct.
Thank you. Drew Timmy. What is he, 46?
Come on, he's only a junior.
I thought he was like 46 years old, man.
The funny thing is that everybody's making that joke, and Jason Bohannon literally is 46, and nobody talks about that. Maybe because nobody talks about Jason Bohannon. I don't know.
Oh,
but I mean, I believe this is his 7th year of college.
Now I'll tell you who is 46 is Allie Patberg on the Indiana women's team. This is her 7th season in college, Mike. 7th.
That's what I'm saying. I think I'm not Jason Jordan. I think this is his 7th year. I have to look this up because he's been there forever.
I just don't know how that's possible, even if you did everything like that. But 7 seasons in college. That's that's a record I don't know that can be broken.
No, actually, for Jordan, it's his 6th year. So
Jalen Coleman Lands, I believe, is having his 7th season wherever he's
at. And his 7th school too.
7th school.
Are you kidding me?
No, not literally 7, but wow. Illinois, DePaul, Kansas.
Where's he at right now?
Where was he last year?
Goodness, I don't know.
See, how do all those transcripts? I mean, that's crazy. And
he was at Iowa last year, I think.
No, he wasn't.
Iowa State. Iowa.
What's that?
Iowa State.
Iowa State. Okay, there you go. Yep. 4 colleges. I don't think that'll be broken.
Oh, I don't know, man. In today's you can change your mind in the closet thing. Change teams, change closets, change jerseys. I wouldn't be surprised one day if there's a guy that plays the first half for one school and the second half for another one.
All right,
Save your gold for the show, man.
You
And
just
$0
traded it.
down. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by AAA Insurance. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means. Kevin Brockway joins us from CNHI, but Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. Mike, how long? The Sporting News is one of the grandest. Is it still the only actual public or a sporting publication in because the SI is no longer SI?
Well, they are, I guess.
Well, but I mean, they are, but they're not. They've got all that split off thing that has nothing to do with Maven.
But they still have Sports Illustrated. I think they still publish a magazine too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so they're still out there. We are the oldest sports publication in America by far. I mean, Sports Illustrated is, I think, 70 to 80 years younger than we are, something like that. I mean, we date all the way back to the 1880s.
Oh, no. Golly, that's awesome. I knew that they were been around because I think Sports Illustrated came around in like the 60s or something, didn't they?
50s, yeah. Mid to late 50s, I believe it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Sporting News, man, the Sporting News is if you watch a movie, these guys were working for the Sporting News back in the day. So fun stuff. When you see oh my gosh, Lou Gehrig giving his speech, the Sporting News was there to cover that.
Yes.
Sports Illustrated was not.
And
speaking of the Sporting News, the All-American preseason All-American college team is out. Saw that yesterday, and it's got some pretty big names on it, of course. Kofi Coburn, right off the bat. This dude looks like he is 29 years old and has been in the NBA for 4 years already. What a beast he is. But he's also going to have a great running mate in Trent Frazier this year. So they got I don't know how Illinois is not picked first or second in the Big Ten by anyone. And yet they have two
by
Well,
anyone.
did you pick them? I'm sorry. Did you pick? I didn't see
we had in our preseason top 25. We had Illinois number 3. I really like Purdue's team. I just worry about their shooting. Michigan, I love their team as well, but a lot of new faces, a lot of new bodies. I think they'll be really good, but Illinois, I think Illinois is being overlooked by a lot of people, which is surprising.
Oh, you have them number 3 in the country.
Yeah, we have them number 3 in the country, which obviously puts them
Ten.
number 1 in the Big Ten. But I was on to Andre Curbelo early, and I thought I'd enter this season as the only one, like the only national analyst that was touting Curbelo, and everybody that's going through there, John Rothstein, a bunch of others are now like totally on the Andre Curbelo train. I think he's a tremendous point guard. If he shoots 30% from 3-point range, he'll flirt with All-America status. He's that great a passer. I don't know that he'll do that. I don't know that he won't, but he's got to do that to be truly great. And that's not a great number. It's just last year it was 18%. You're not going to be the kind of player you need to be at that level, but we'll see. I think they've got a lot there. They've got a lot of questions too, but I think all of the best teams in the Big Ten have questions. But you start with Kofi Coburn, and I think you've got a lot going for you. And he was the foundation, I believe, of our All-America team. If we were doing a preseason player of the year, he probably would be it. And then we also had Drew Timme on from Gonzaga, who has been a preseason player of the year for a lot of people. Paolo Banchero from Duke. What a terrific talent he is. A freshman who will really be special for the Blue Devils. going to carry a lot of weight for them. We had Max Asmus from Oral Roberts. A lot, I was a little disappointed.
How about Oral Roberts? Oral Roberts, they ever had a first team All-American from anyone. It's amazing.
I don't think
so. See that.
They had a kid. I think they had a kid named Richie Fuqua back in the early 70s when I was just getting into hoops, who might have been their last superstar, but I don't think he ever made All-America. But and now I was a little disappointed in my competitors, the competition, for not Max Asman went into the NCAA tournament and tore up big time programs. Ohio State, Florida, Florida was their second round. I mean, he put big numbers on great teams on the highest stage. You know what? I don't think he's gonna get first team All-America if he comes back and leads the nation at 24.5 points a game like he did last year. But I think he'll do better. I think he'll average 26, 27 points. And I think Oral Roberts will be really good. And I just think that with what he did in that, he deserves that kind of recognition. So I was not going to leave him off that team. And certainly and I feel really good about the fact that he's on there.
I like to say Johnny Juzang.
And Johnny Juzang is the fifth member of that first team. Johnny tore up the NCAA tournament in a really impressive way. He's got to do that all year now. I mean, last year, first 2/3 of his year were just okay. They were fine. And I think the next step he has to take, he has to become a great 3-point shooter, or at least a really good one. Last year was, for a high scoring wing, was below average 3-point shooters. Got to take that step. But if he does, they'll be really hard to defend. And he'll score a lot of points for a terrific UCLA team. And want to mention one name for sure on the second team, which may be familiar to your fans.
That was coming up next.
Yes,
that was coming up next. I promise you. I just noticed. Yeah, Trace Jackson Davis, of course, from Indiana, on your second team. So gives Indiana folks something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, a year ago he was on our third team on a losing team. I can tell you that in my time being part of Sporting News postseason All-America teams, I guarantee you, I've been there for 25 years. I guarantee you you could use less than one hand to count the players from losing teams that made any of our All-America teams, first, second, third team, in all that period. So
that's amazing.
He had a tremendous sophomore year. And I think that this year, he'll have a tremendous year on a winning team.
Yeah, he's so much more relaxed. Talking to him at Big Ten Media Days this year, all of them seem more relaxed. And I know that seems to be a rhythm I keep saying, but it's true, because anytime I'm around any of those guys, it is a much, much more relaxed environment. And that starts at the top, Kevin. I mean, and talking to Woody, when talking to him, he is calmness. Now, I'm sure that if he has reason, he can be a coach and become a volcano, but his normal state of being is calm. And you learn a lot more when you're calm, I guess, than in otherwise. But it is certainly a much more relaxed environment.
Well, and the interesting thing with Trace, as we saw him in Big Ten Media Day, is just he looks bigger even than he did last year. And he talked a lot about his conditioning, and maybe that'll affect his ability on the glass and his ability to sustain late in games. I mean, there has been so much asked of him the last 2 years in terms of production. And you did see, I think last year, you kind of saw it late in games, kind of the weight and the pressure on his shoulders didn't perform well. Maybe that's the next step, with the strength and the conditioning that in the last 5 minutes of a big game, he'll be able to answer the bell, because really he is obviously has been the industry or stretcher most dynamic player. And you need your most dynamic players to perform well at the end of games and tight games in Big Ten play.
The other thing about that, Kevin, is that, and this goes to his future as well as his present, is that hopefully he's added enough to his away from the basket game. I don't want to necessarily call it perimeter, but even just being able to play up the line or into the short corners. part of the reason he wore down last year was that he was in the low post almost the entire game because that's what he had. Nobody could stop it, or very few could stop it. And that's all really he had to offer on offense was that amazing ability in the low post. So he got banged on, worn on, and that's part of getting tired at the end. So if he's able to play away and become a difficult mismatch, fewer bodies on him. And then late in the games when, we got to get a foul, we got to get a bucket. We want, we just want to, ride this out, or we need 2 points to get ahead. Then you put him down in the post. That ability that he has isn't going anywhere.
Kind of switching topics a little bit because this jumped out. I did want to talk about this. The Braves and their tomahawk chalk that they do. Doug makes a great point. The Braves can still make Indian noises, and the Redskins are reduced to a color and a number. Someone else has made notice. It's Bob Kravitz that talked about that. Yeah, I wonder why is Atlanta not getting any repercussions from that whatsoever? I know Florida State, they have, I don't want to say an agreement, but they have made peace with the Seminole Nation, Kevin, right?
Yeah,
they have.
They have an agreement with the Seminole tribe. It probably involves skyboxes. That's my guess. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And, I think the answer to your question there is the difference between the NFL's proactivity, and the organization's proactivity to an extent. You look at Cleveland. They took the step of abandoning a century-old mascot to move forward, and Atlanta just says we don't care. I'm sorry, I really have a hard time with that. It's so easily eliminated. They encourage it, right? I mean, it's not.
Well, not only they encourage it, the network was encouraging because last night, or whenever I was watching the last game, they were just panning for like quiet moments. And there was no verbiage being spoken. They were just panning over the crowd doing the tomahawk chop. And I'm like, man, the network's kind of promoting that right there.
Well, I think it's time for that to go. I don't have necessarily a huge problem with the name itself. I just think you have to change the imagery in that case. I think that I think it's true in Kansas City as well.
You could reformat the Braves name, not to associate it with Native Americans. You could make it, Braves, home of the Brave or whatever. You could turn it into something patriotic, I think.
Absolutely, 100%.
But why can't it still represent them in a positive manner? To me, a Brave was a warrior, and as a salute to them. I think you could make it a salute to them. It should. I think
enough Native Americans have spoken out on this over time that they don't feel honored. They feel more in general, and this is not. Obviously, there's not unanimity on many issues in the world, so this is in general. There's a feeling that that's not necessarily an honor so much as it is a diminishment. And so I think that there are ways to keep those names so you don't have to completely abandon your team's history. Obviously the one that Cleveland got rid of, there's not really a way to get around that one. But I think the Braves and the Chiefs are names that can be rescued. I remember when Marquette changed their nickname. I thought the Warriors was one, as Golden State has shown, has a lot of applications, and Marquette decided to go completely away from it. I didn't think they needed to. But in the and in the case of Washington or in the case of Cleveland, there's no other way to interpret. And it would be really nice if the Braves stepped up and said, "Hey, this is not who we want to be." I imagine how many people they would win over if they did that. This is not, and I, part of that, I think there's a really good feeling about what Cleveland's doing because they're doing that, and even to an extent, Washington. It's an organization that's been hard to like over the years for various things they've done, but this is one really positive step that they've taken.
Yep, we'll certainly see. There was we were talking about penalties earlier. I wish I remembered that one because I was watching that game. The guy got called for unsportsmanlike conduct for for not even pulling a guy off. He just kind of moved him off of the pile, off of a teammate, and not even badly. It was the dumbest call that I have seen this year, no doubt. But we didn't skip all that. Mike, what do you have coming up next?
Wow, I have after with this deal coming up, I'm working on a piece about the Mike Krzyzewski. We're doing another piece on that, but this one's a little bit different. It's more of a look back to a particular moment in time. That'll appear, I believe, next Monday in advance of the Champions Classic. Remember, next Tuesday, start of college basketball season for pretty much everybody. And, for me, it's going to be Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, Kansas at Madison Square Garden. Going to be really nice to be back there. It'll be my first game with fans in basketball since December of 2019. I mean, hard to believe, but almost 2 years since. Now there were some fans at the Final Four and Elite Eight and such, but it wasn't really a full audience, and the atmosphere was much different pre-vaccine.
So you're in Madison Square Garden next Tuesday?
I will be there.
Oh my goodness! Well, I can't wait. That's going to be. I was fortunate to do a show from there when the Big Ten did had the tournament there. I was able to do my Friday show, actually just walking around Madison Square Garden, doing my show, walking around. But I was looking at all the pictures that were up the whole time, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. There's Marilyn Monroe singing happy birthday to JFK. I didn't know that's where that took place. There was just all the fights, all that stuff. And I was like, oh my God, but I know we got to let you go, hit a break, but thank you so much. And can't wait until next week, but make sure you give Mike a follow at TSN Mike, also at the Sporting News. If you're not a subscriber, I am. Thank you, sir. We appreciate
Thanks, Jim.
you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Back with Chronic Hoosier right after this, brought to you by our good friends at AAA Insurance. If you're in Southern Indiana, down in Southwest Evansville and Southern Illinois, reach out to AAA Insurance. Be insured by someone who cares about you, whether it's for home, auto, life, renters, whatever you need. 812-477-9966. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
If you're in the market for...
yeah, baby. That was a great one. That was fun. What's up?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Hello. You know what, my brother? I think my rehab is going worse than yours.
I'll tell you what, as of this morning, I'm done with my physical therapy, at least having to go to the center, the IU Health every morning at 7 a.m. a couple times a week.
Do you have like a doctor, or is this IU Health your doctor?
I do have a doctor. I see Eric Knabel. He's I forget where he's at now. He's migrating back to IU Health here next month, I believe. He left and then he's returning. That's my primary, but I had my surgery done by Linder, local ortho here in town, and I've been rehabbing at IU SportsMed over there on Sarah Road. But I'm done with that as of today. We have officially crossed the bridge, and now we're just trying to build the strength back. But I can do that just as well at home or at a gym, as opposed to going in there at 7 a.m. every morning.
Yeah, I fell and hit my neck like 3.5 weeks ago, the back, and boy, there's some of it that's something. I think it's a nerve issue. It's not right in there.
I'll tell you what, I've had,
and I don't have a doctor here. My doctor was in Louisville, and so, but he can't. My insurance won't let him order anything.
No, I've had great luck with IU Health. A couple of years ago, I was taking a screw out of a pump, and in one motion somehow managed to give myself golf and tennis elbow simultaneously. Yeah, I couldn't pick up a book. I mean, I
can't raise my arms over my shoulders. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, the rehab that they did there for me was phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. It took a lot of time. Make no mistake, it was not an easy process, but got it back in relatively short order.
All right, here we go. Coming back.
Life insurance, and you need to be insured by someone who cares about you. For those of you in the Southwest, Indiana, Evansville, and Southern Illinois areas, make sure to reach out to our friends at AAA Insurance today for your auto, home, life, and renter's insurance needs. You can reach AAA Insurance at 812-477-9966. That's 812-477-9966. AAA Insurance. Be covered by someone who cares about you.
This segment is brought
Golf
to you
Chronic.
by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Hey, if you have a problem sleeping, reach out to our friends at Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic, aurorasleep.com. Former Indiana basketball player Steve Green and former dentist, as well as Brian Evans there. And that thing works, trust me. Oh, there you go. I've always wanted it comes, this is all it is. It's like that small. It's a couple of teeth trays. I'm telling you, it works. Reach out to them. aurorasleep.com. Your partner will be very happy you did. Joining us now, Chronic Hoosier. How are you, sir?
Glad to be back. Wish we had some more dubs to talk about, but hey, it's 1 week from basketball season, so all is as good as could be expected, I guess, at this point in the year here in Bloomington.
Yeah, unfortunately, this football season is, and when you say people say disappointment, this one is truly been a disappointing season because the expectations were rightfully there, and people ask me all the time, and I'm like, I don't know. I do not know what happened to the offensive line, Kevin. I don't know why they regressed so badly with a group that didn't change hardly. The offense that regressed so badly, or for even there was a lot of regression, and I don't have the answer. I mean, I can guess, but there was certainly regression on that side of the ball, and it has led to this season. Now, of course, there were injuries, but that aside, there was still regression, I think. And I don't know why.
Maybe guys like Wap Fillier and Stevie Scott and Harry Kreider are better than we thought. That could possibly be it. Maybe they were more important than we thought they were. But I think, too, the way the schedule laid out this season in terms of and some of the injuries in terms of, when you lose a guy like DJ Matthews, who really showed something in that Cincinnati game as that kind of dynamic speed threat, and now you don't have him. I think that hurts. But and the injuries just kind of wore on during the course of the season with that. I mean, Tywan Mullen, an All-American cornerback, is not himself, obviously. He tried to play that Maryland game, but he wasn't at full speed. And Micah McFadden is playing his tail off. He's been the best player on the defense, but you needed Taiwan, I think, as that second All-American to kind of anchor it there. I just think it's been a combination, a perfect storm of factors that have led to this, certainly this regression. But and football's a game of momentum too. You lose games, losses pile upon losses. It's hard to get up every week also for that. So it's all kind of gone downhill this season.
Chronic, they certainly, I mean, golly, and the games against Cincinnati and Michigan State, games that wow, you thought that they could have easily won those games, and you see where Cincinnati and Michigan State are right now, and it really makes you scratch your head and say, kick the can down the road.
Yeah, I keep having flashbacks to that Cincinnati game. I mean, just postcard perfect day at Memorial Stadium, packed house, ranked team. Had every opportunity to basically wipe the slate clean after that stinker in Iowa. And it got away from them. It got away from them. And so has gone the season for the most part, pretty much since then. I mean, quite honestly, this was a team that still put up a decent enough fight against Michigan State, but as we've seen too often this year, when the defense put them in position to win, the offense just couldn't get it done. And this season, in a lot of ways, was no different than last year. I mean, I think we all pretty much agreed before it started this year and last that they're going to go as far as Michael Penix can take them on offense, and that was true last year, and it's held pretty true this year, with the slight exception being, we never quite saw him in what I would consider full form, since his most recent injury, knee injury at least. But just a really, really unfortunate season, really disappointing on a number of levels. But, I think it highlights just how tenuously positioned Indiana's success has been, even when it was, kind of at its apex last year. This has been a team, the way it's constructed, the way it has to, whom it has to compete against. Once you start getting into that depth chart, you start showing some chinks in the armor. And as good as this team's gotten at the top, I think, as we've seen, there's still quite a ways to go as you start moving down the depth chart. Here we are on our third string quarterback with a walk-on serving as backup now, which, as luck would have it, was probably one of the lone bright spots coming out of Maryland last weekend. I thought McCauley looked really, really poised. Probably one of the, not probably, I'd say that's the best offensive performance of the season from Indiana football. Unfortunately, it was arguably the worst performance from the defense this whole season, and it's just so is IU football's luck in 2021. I don't know what else to say, and I hate to be that hardened, bitter old IU fan. This is all too familiar in a lot of ways. And it would be great if we could say those days were past Indiana. But you are what your record says you were, and right now you're the worst team in the Big Ten.
And you are what I think, Chronic, too, you are what your program history says in a way, too, because, I looked this up yesterday, and only one time in school history have they been to bowl game 3 straight years, and that was Mallory. I think it was 86 to 88, and that's what Indiana was, and that's what Indiana was striving for. But it just shows you that, and I think as some of the big boys in the conference post-pandemic kind of got their act together, the Michigans, the Michigan States, certainly the Penn States, that now, Indiana's back to that right now to that second tier status, and they're going to have to work out. But I do think that 2022 class coming in, combined with Donovan McCulley, and what he showed, a year or two down the line, you could have a team that could be dynamic again.
Yeah, I mean, they're not that far off. I mean, they're really not. I mean, again, this was a team that was more than capable, that had everything it needed to beat Cincinnati if it just could have cleaned up some of the execution, some of the play calling. That Michigan State game, this is for all the plaudits that Michigan State's getting right now. I'm sorry, they are one of the softest top 10 teams in the nation. I mean, they have one win versus
I say the same about Cincinnati too. I mean, I'm like, I can't believe both of those teams are that high.
Michigan State has one win just this weekend versus a team with a winning record at this point in the season. I think Indiana showed that they're not that great, to be totally honest. But they are, they found ways to win those games, and all credit to them. I'm not trying to discount that in any way, shape, or form. Part of it, though, is look at nobody else. That's one of the frustrations is you should hear in your splitting hairs about how good is this team that beat us. At the end of the day, we've been beat by a lot of decent teams. We've been, it's just been an absolute murderer's row so far this year. And as challenging as it was, you look at the other side of the coin, Indiana had a lot of opportunities to show the nation that it's better than what its record says it is. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. So you're left with this. And, while they're not mathematically eliminated from bowl eligibility yet, it's going to be, the toughest stretch of games to get there that perhaps Indiana's ever had to mount for a program that's not or that's not, it's not a foreign thing for them to be playing down to the wire, trying to get that magical 6 win. We've seen that time and time again when Indiana has been mediocre. This is a team that should be far better than mediocre right now. And I think we're going to learn a lot about what's really inside that locker room now that the luster, kind of the shine of LEO from last year has worn off. It's got to be a bunker mentality in there, and I fully expect to see their best fight with what they got left, with what they have healthy, up against Michigan this weekend. And I'm certainly not going to lay any money on it like I did last weekend, because that was a little bitter pill to swallow. That was the emotional hedge bet, knowing that it probably wasn't going to go well, but if it doesn't, at least you got something to make feel better. I do think, though, we're going to see hopefully one of the cleaner performances from Indiana, because there's a lot of controllables that have cost them pretty dearly this year, and it's all on the line at this point.
You could have been me. I took the under. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was happy to see it, but I was like, really? I did not expect that. So kind of a slugfest turned out to be, but yeah. But we'll move forward. That basketball season around the corner. We'll get to talk to you once more before the games start next Tuesday. But next Tuesday, CBB, baby, college basketball is here, and a lot of people are excited about that. I know that a lot of Indiana fans are happy about that because they have yet to see this team, even though they have played 3 games. And from all indications, they have been 3 wins. Most recently, of course, the secret scrimmage down in Louisville at the Yum Center against Belmont last Saturday, a game in which they allegedly won by 11, hit all 11 of their free throws. I think they were 8 of 24 from behind the 3-point line, 5 of 10 in the first half. It was what Dane Fife told us yesterday. But so it sounds like things are going well, and everyone looking forward to seeing this team. Of course, there's a couple injuries yet, guys still out, but next Tuesday, baby, it's bell time. Ding, ding.
I'll tell you what, that may be one of the better opportunities too for folks that are as excited as I am, or even remotely close, to come check it out. It's a really, really wonky opener. 6 o'clock on a Tuesday is just a tough pull for a lot of folks traveling from outside the area. Especially with the condition of 69, 67, and that whole route to get down here right now. Still some pretty cheap tickets available for those looking to get down and take a look at these guys. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just ready to get back in the gym. I'm ready to hear Chuck Crabb coming across the PA system again, just to get back, just to partake in the ritual again. Take my kid in there and just all of that. It's something that we greatly missed here during the COVID shutdowns, and I'm just happy to get back. I'm as happy as I've probably been since the 2012-2013 season, just to get it started, just to get back in the gym and see the boys get some run, and just see that ball go in the hoop again, man.
You know, as Kevin, last year when we were both there, just the media only, and it was very quiet, even though they were pumping in that dumb music, which was stupid. The thing I realized that I forgot about this season was during Hoosier Hysteria was the William Tell timeout. I'd kind of forgotten about that because, you know, we never saw it all last year. And then this year I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, there's that. So I'm sure the fans were looking forward to seeing that live again as well. And but like you said, being back in Assembly Hall, it is a basketball mecca. It's an iconic venue in the country. So it's one of those places that needs to have balls and fans in it at the same time. And it will next Tuesday. So, and then you've got a team now to look forward to, Chronic, that, there are not a lot of expectations being heaped on them because that would be unfair, but I think that, I'm thinking that they could end up being a top 5 team in this league.
I don't see why they can't. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a whole lot easier to turn a basketball program around than it is a football program. It's just a much smaller ship. This is a team that's going to be centered around, an All-American once again. You have the pieces inside to compete in the Big Ten. We talk about how important line play is in football. You've got to have post players. I understand this is a game that's trending towards guards, but the way this league is built, the type of competition you're going to face, you've got to be solid in the middle. Now, Indiana's Achilles heel for the last several years has been its ability to defend, particularly at the perimeter, and its ability to score the basketball. And I think you're going to see a team that's been remade very specifically in order to address some of those liabilities. I'm expecting a lot of competition for minutes from the guards. I'm expecting to see a markedly improved defense that actually knows how to apply some pressure and make things difficult for opponents to work. And I think the way this team is kind of trending right now, you're going to see a team that is going to go pretty deep in the roster, and the expectation is going to be you leave it all out on the floor for whatever minutes you get, and then you go catch your breath and you go out and do it all over again.
I think we can agree at this point that Michigan, Purdue, Illinois, and Ohio State are probably going to be the top four, projected top four going into the season. So are they better than Michigan State? Are they better than Maryland, or are they better than Rutgers? Can they compete in that second tier? I think they could. I think they could be fifth, but I don't know if they can break into that top four, possibly. If things go well and breaks go well and you don't know other teams, the injuries aren't as prevalent in college basketball, but they do happen. But, you look at it realistically, and if you're in that top 8 conversation, then you're probably in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable expectation. And, there's so many unknowns that are going to really determine that. What exactly does the guard rotation shake out to be? Who does this team, when it's looking for open perimeter shots, who's going to be the number 1 guy? Who's going to be your number 2 guy? How are they going to be able to deliver and contribute? Just how much more effective is this defense going to be? There's so many things right now that are just complete unknowns because there's so many new pieces. And even the known pieces, now you've got an entirely different chemistry that you've got to factor in. And, we often talk about, a season's a journey. It's just a journey. It's going to take time. There's going to be growth. There's going to be setbacks. All that and then some this year, though, especially. This is a staff that has not been shy about the fact it's been a defense first emphasis in practice. The offense is something I think you're going to see kind of evolve probably more greatly or more obviously over the course of the early part of the season here as these guys kind of iron some of that stuff out. I think I can't remember if it was yesterday's show or the last time I saw Dane speak. He's given you some great interviews, by the way. I've really enjoyed those. But, how he spoke about how much more difficult it is getting offense developed in practice because everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows what you're trying to do with the ball, where it's going to go, what everyone's strengths and weaknesses are. So to get a chance to see some unfamiliar faces lined up against you and then go figure it out and just see how all that irons out in the end. I'm really fascinated to see how that works and who steps up because while there's a lot of new faces, some of those guys returning, I think, are going to be taking on some really different roles than what perhaps they've been asked of in the past. So it's going to take some time to get there, but this is one of those schedules that certainly gives them a lot of leeway to figure that out before the games start getting real and the consequences and the NC2A implications really start kicking in here.
Yeah, you mentioned Dane on with us yesterday, and he seems so relaxed and just that is the one. Tom Allen is famous for using words, but if I could use a word for the basketball program, it's relaxed. Relaxed. Everyone seems relaxed. The players seem relaxed, just relaxed. But I don't mean lazy and slow. What I mean is just comfortable. And it really is coming across that way in conversations and things that they see. So, and it's a lot easier to do things when you're relaxed than when you're stressed. Trust me. And so I think that their minds are going to be a lot clearer and they're going to be able to learn a lot more and succeed a lot easier because they don't have those strains going on in their brain.
No, and they're still very much in the honeymoon phase right now with the new staff come in, and it takes a lot of the pressure off. Everything's all love right now. That'll certainly change real quick if you start putting up some results that are deemed to be unacceptable to the faithful. But I do think it puts them in a great spot as they kind of launch this thing off for the first time together. This is a staff that's home, and you sense that very much in Mike Woodson's talk and his demeanor. I think you get a lot of that from Dane too, and that's certainly been a welcome reprieve from the times of old. This is a job that has made a lot of people really uncomfortable just because of the nature of this glass house that they live in and the pressure that builds inside of it when you're leading Indiana basketball. We'll see how that translates into wins, but I certainly think you combine that with the honeymoon phase, and it certainly gives them reason to be a little more comfortable than what we've seen in the past. And quite honestly, those lower expectations to start off with, I don't think you could ask for a more ideal situation just to give these guys some space to grow and develop in it. And, Dane made mention of that repeatedly yesterday as well. A lot of this is brand new for Mike Woodson as well. He's kind of like a freshman coming in as a college basketball coach. I'm not taking away anything from his pro credentials. Obviously, that goes without saying. But this is all new to him as well. I'm really excited to see it start, and I'm really excited to see where this journey leads, because I think it's going to be hopefully more fun than what our last couple of ventures have been.
Absolutely, brother. Anything new for you?
Not a damn thing, man. I need to touch base with Mr. Osterman and Mr. Gopiriak here. We talked about doing some basketball stuff, but the time is drawing near, so looking forward to it. But there's nothing like a little frost in the air to kind of light a fire and get those juices going again. And I'll say this much, man, it is certainly fall in Bloomington once again. It was delayed, but it got here, and I couldn't be more excited for it.
Well, brother, we can't be more excited every Tuesday when you join us. We appreciate you very much.
Look forward to being here again next week, man. We'll talk to you guys. Be well.
Absolutely. Chronic Hoosier brought to you by our good friends at Andy Moore Honda. Make sure if you're looking for a automobile, Andy Moore Honda's got the deals for you. Honda Pilots, Honda Passports, $0 down, 0% APR financing. Right now, Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington. Go to andymoorehonda.com, get more to your door. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration or just...
How long is the break? I got to get my sneakers on and stuff.
You have time to get your sneakers on. Sneakers. In England they call them trainers, I guess. Or those cleats. No, those are trainers. Those are sneakers. Man.
Thanks.
That sucks.
What sucks?
What is it?
Nero Little. No, I'm not going to say it.
What did he? Is it something?
Nothing. No, nothing happened. Just I'm not going to say it, so don't ask me. What are you working on, Kevin?
Right. I'm going to do a non-conference schedule breakdown for Indiana basketball this week, and then I'm also going to do a story on Mike Woodson from his playing days.
There we go. Coming back.
Teammates.
More Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers joins me as he always does. Just finished up with Chronic. And I'm Jim Coyle. Hope you're having a great day. Lots going on. The Colts, man, they got a short week, Kevin. They played Sunday at a game they just needed to have. But they have to turn around and play Thursday. Play a Thursday game.
Against my Jets, which should be interesting.
Jets, against your stinking lowly Jets, who have all of a sudden they've beaten the Titans and the Bengals. And normally that wouldn't mean a lot, but the Bengals are good this year.
Well, I mean, they've won 2 games at home. So now they haven't won on the road yet. They haven't played particularly well on the road. So this will be a chance to, as we know, the NFL is week to week. But, the Jets are taking some positive momentum into the game, and they've got a quarterback who seems very comfortable in the offensive coordinator's system, LaFleur's system, perhaps maybe even more comfortable than Zach Wilson, who's a rookie, who was going through some struggles. So I think this sets up as a situation where you try to come into the game, get off to a good start, keep those positive vibes going. They ran the ball very well also in that Bengals game with the rookie running back Michael Carter. I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball as effectively against the Colts, because I think the Colts have a better run defense. That's what they tend to do. They tend to stop the run and force you to throw the football.
OG Anunoby had a big night last night. 36 points, career high in New York.
Another former
New York.
Another former IU player getting it done. So
his story will never cease to amaze me, man. Say what you will about Tom Crean, he could sure strike out on a guy, terrible with Tim Priller and Grant Gillon and April, whatever that guy's name was. But then he finds Juwan Morgan and OG Anunoby. He found Juwan Morgan he was going to look at him on purpose at some camp in Missouri. He sees OG playing, and he's not on the list, and he's like, who's that dude? So he has to get them to get his information, and that's how OG was discovered, and now he's in the NBA. Now, would someone else have discovered him? I don't know, because if he doesn't come to an Indiana and that stage, I don't know, because maybe not, but because he's such a unique, he's not a player that, it was scoring 50 points a game. That's not how he got recognized. And it's just, his story will always be one that I'm like, wow, that's a true rags to riches story.
Yeah, no. And it's interesting when you look at the Crean era going all the way back to Victor Oladipo, right? And Cody Zeller, the number of NBA players. And you really can make the argument, right, that that's been the most successful era since Bob Knight. I mean, they were number 1 in the country earlier in the decade. You had 3 Sweet 16 teams, but they could never quite get over that hump. Certainly Syracuse and the zone defense in the NCAA tournament that year is something that
wait a minute. Well, it wasn't as much the zone defense as the fact that Tom Crean changed the offense the day before the game. It's I don't even go into it, but that's what happened. The attempt to change Indiana's offense the day before the game, it just was crazy. And that's one of the reasons why Tom Crean's not here anymore, or not at Indiana anymore. They were a better team, and just simple playing your game would have worked fine, but oh well, there you go. That's the difference in a great coach and not a great coach. A great coach believes in himself and does what he was doing and continues doing it. But and then those others that don't. So there you go.
Yeah, you stick with what works, obviously, and in that situation, they did not. But onto a new era, and we will see if Mike Woodson sticks with what he works, which is motion offense, which is kind of designed to get players in space. And players are going to have to knock down shots, though. I think that's get everything. You know, you got to
not only that, he's going to do it in a manner which blends it to today's game with today's player. And I think that's going to be – I can't wait to see that, to be honest with you, because the motion offense, when run correctly, is wicked. It's hard to defend. It's very hard to defend if you have the players making the right decisions and hitting the shots and doing what they're supposed to do. So
trust me, I covered many Florida Billy Donovan teams, and what he said when players used to kind of bristle at the complexities of the motion offense, what he used to explain to them is, listen, you have to learn this. Otherwise, you're going to be easy to scout. You're going to be easy to stop. Do you want to put yourself in a situation where you have so many options and you have so many variations off a pick and roll?
It gives you freedom. It gives the player freedom.
Yeah,
a lot more freedom. And if you don't know or don't understand, the motion offense is not designed plays. It's designed reads.
Yeah,
you have to read what the defense is giving you, and you have to make the right decision, the right pass. Everything is based off of that. And
it's kind of like the read option in football. It's the same concept. You know, it's just
there you go. Sam hit us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, said that IU needs to step up its game in the NIL arena, or they will lose out to those schools that can. I can't even read that.
They can mine money for
players like Clowney. Embrace the change sooner. Indiana's doing fine, and trust me, NIL is not hurting Indiana. Indiana did not lose Clowney because of NIL. I mean, did he come out and say that or something?
Not that I know of. I mean, players.
So no,
yeah,
that's not that. I think that had nothing to do with. No, Indiana is fine in the NIL arena. I assure you, there's not a problem there, and there won't be. I promise you, that's not going to be an issue. And now, bonus, Indiana is Indiana. It's not some other school. So now you're going to have NIL plus Indiana plus the 17,000 seat arena and those fans and the Big Ten and the Big Ten audience and the Big Ten games, the stage. You're going to have all of that. Indiana is fine. I assure you. They're going to come out. I think in this Indiana program will continue to rise because now you have a coach and coaches that are more than capable of doing that. And you have the NIL and the fact that it's Indiana. I'm looking, as someone who covers it, I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot more. I always say it's a lot more fun to cover a winner than a loser, baby.
Well, that's the thing, and you've got to get to that. I think, what's working in favor for Indiana now, the tradition, the history, the fact that you come here, it's a basketball-first school, you're the big man on campus, obviously you're beloved by so many people, and so many people love Indiana basketball here. What's working against Indiana? Haven't made the NCAA tournament since 2016. Kids want to go where they can win and where they can get that visibility in the NCAA tournament. And that's what Alabama had in Nate Oates, a guy that went to the Sweet 16 last year, a guy that's a successful coach. So what Indiana has to get back to with the tradition and the history is the winning. That's the next step. And with that, the recruits are going to come.
Doug says the Sporting News guy's an IU fan. You're talking about Mike DeCourcy? He's not an IU fan.
Yeah.
Mike DeCourcy's not an IU fan. He's a writer. The rest of that part I will leave alone.
That guy, yeah. What was that about?
Well, I'm pretty sure I know what that's about. Uncle Tom. Let's see, I didn't see that. Wake Forest, terrible. Yes. How about Wake Forest? See, go back to the ACC. It drives me crazy. The ACC should not be allowed to be a part of the echelon of upper football right now. They just suck. They are absolutely horrific, and you cannot reward mediocrity. And that's exactly what they are.
Clemson is down this year. Our buddy John Blau is.
But you can't have an entire conference down because one team, and that's the case because they're a one-team conference.
Yeah. Well, how about my guy? The U is starting to play a little better. They beat Pitt and Kenny Pickett, 38-34, and they've
but better is not like the SEC, who has Alabama and Georgia and the Big Ten, who's got Ohio State, and well, you know what? How good is the Big Ten really?
That's the thing. Well, you know what?
They were looking really solid. Now I'm like, I don't know how good they really are. I mean, how good? I mean, Ohio State is pretty good, but how good is Michigan? Now they lost to Michigan State, and I thought Michigan State should have lost to Indiana.
Georgia right now looks like the class of the SEC, and they just thumped.
Georgia looks like the class of the country.
They've got it going on. But here's the thing: if Georgia loses to Alabama in the SEC title game, do you have two SEC teams in the college football playoff? Give Georgia again. If Georgia goes into the SEC championship game undefeated and loses to Alabama, do you have two SEC teams in the college football playoff? I think you do. I think it's Georgia and Alabama are in there. I think Alabama would be 1 or 2, and Georgia would be 4, because you would have 2 one-loss teams in the SEC, and I think they would both be in there.
Who didn't Alabama lose to? What, A&M?
Alabama lost to Texas A&M. Yeah.
Okay. If Alabama cannot lose another game,
they can't. Yeah. But if they beat Georgia in the SEC title game and Georgia's undefeated and they're 2 one-loss teams, do they both get into the Final Four? I think they do.
Okay, then. All right, let's say they do.
Yeah.
And you still got this weak-ass Cincinnati team over here that everybody's going to be crying about letting in, that in no way, shape, or form is one of the top 4 teams in the country. But are they going to finally get in? Because there's no way you're going to have 2 teams over here with a loss getting in, and Cincinnati over here. Well, we beat Indiana, we beat Notre Dame, and we're undefeated.
If a one-loss Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship, are they in? I think they are.
If they win the Big Ten championship, probably because they would have lost that game early in the season to Oregon, who was good, and so they went the rest of the way. They have to go undefeated. Yeah, Ohio State cannot lose another game. That's for sure.
I don't think they're going to lose another game.
Well, they should, because there's
not a team better than beat them. Is Michigan State going to beat them? Is Michigan going to beat them?
Well, you would think not, but I didn't think that Michigan State was going to beat Michigan. Indiana should have beat Michigan State, or could have beat Michigan State. They were not that good. Indiana's defense played very well. They just did not have, like every other game, they did not have an offense, so they couldn't beat them. But they're just, normally you can tell. You watch them like, all right, this team was the better team. Well, when I watched Indiana and Michigan State and Indiana and Cincinnati, I thought Indiana was the better team, but they just were lacking one little ingredient. And so I can't imagine. And to see Cincinnati be as high as second in the country, I just shake my head. It's crazy. And it's been like that for the last couple of years. We've seen, I complained about North Carolina being in the top 5. Was it last year? What a joke. I'm like, come on, people.
Yeah.
Really? This is obvious. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Everybody knows that. But some of this stuff is just as obvious as your nose on front of your face.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see an ACC team in the college football playoff this year. I'd be shocked. I don't think we're going to see it.
I would hope not.
Yeah.
But does that mean Cincinnati? Is that going to open it up for Cincinnati? And because you're out west, you don't have anything out west. What do you have out west?
You have Oregon. Oregon beat Ohio State. But then Oregon's lost, right? How many have they lost?
Twice, I think.
If they've lost twice, then they're out of the running for sure.
So this is going to be I think it will be a 2-team SEC deal again. The SEC is the strongest conference this year. I can say that with confidence, because the Big Ten it's not as strong as I thought it was. And as the season goes on, I'm like, wow, it's Penn State. They looked so good. And then, boom, they've fallen backwards.
Losing Mustafa really hurt their defense, Penn State. Yeah.
I thought Michigan I'm like, wow, is this Michigan? Is this the team that's going to have it? And then they go and lose to a Michigan State team, and I'm like,
They blew that fourth quarter lead. They had that game, and they just couldn't finish and had some lapses in run defense, and Kenneth Walker took advantage.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll hit all your questions, your comments, whatever else we can scare up. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our good friend at Cheryl Sizemore, Remax Realty. If you're looking for that home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. That could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Give her a call, 317-298-0961, or Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration.
Were you
Hey, let me talk about my friend coming out of the break.
No.
Yeah. What?
No.
Why not?
I'm kidding.
You're not a nice guy.
So do you want to do that out of the break or at the end?
Out of the break. Yeah, I'll make it quick.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm here for you, brother.
Because if we do it at the end, then we might
is there anything John should put up? Was he a writer?
No. You don't
all right. Forget it. All right.
I mean, there was a story I did on Twitter on him, but it was up for 3 days, and then what was weird is they took it down. It was getting a lot of reads too. I don't know why they took it down, but it was an archive story from 2014. But I'll explain that coming out of the break.
John, who's? Oh man, what is? Oh, never.
What is it?
Nothing. I got it.
Okay.
Another one of these.
Okay, here we go.
A part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back, Tuesday. Jim Coyle, Kevin Brockway. Brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, down in southern Indiana, if you're down and around there. Right off of I-65. Great place to stop, have a bite, watch a game. Fun. We used to do some games down there when I was originally started the show from down that area.
Yeah, no, it's a good place to go. And just want to mention something. I referenced in the break. Last weekend, I drove back to Gainesville, Florida for a memorial service for a friend of mine, a guy by the name of Jerome Millman. I posted something on Twitter about him a week and a half ago. He died of heart failure, of diabetes, 66 years old. Just a special guy, a guy I got to know. I wrote a story on him back in 2014. He was Billy Donovan's tailor with the University of Florida coach, and suffered from diabetic retinopathy in 2003 due to some untreated diabetes at the time. And Billy Donovan used to leave him courtside seats so he could watch the game with his magnifying glass. And he was this Gator super fan. He went to all the events. He went to baseball, football, basketball, even tennis. I mean, you name it. He was there at all the games, and just a really special guy. And we became good friends after I wrote that story. I would drive him to Gator basketball games that I covered because obviously he couldn't drive due to his vision. Stayed in hotels together. Just a really good guy, and very gone too soon at 66. But had a chance to go down there to Gainesville, and then after the memorial service on Saturday, I got to reconnect with some friends and went to Spurrier's, which was a really cool place down there. And but just a really special person, and I'm still kind of in mourning over it, but great guy. You know, different people come into your life for different reasons, you know, and he's someone that taught me a lot about kind of loyalty and respect and humility going through the battle that he went through.
Yeah, it's tough. I hate to hear that for you and your friend, brother. Best wishes to you and the family as they deal with that.
Yeah, yeah. And they were they were like a second family to me. They invited me over for barbecues and so forth, and they were surprised that I was there. But I felt like with the way the schedule worked out and the fact that they didn't send me to Maryland, I felt like I had to go. So I rented a car and headed south and drove back all day Sunday, did the 13 hours. And I think I left at Gainesville at like 11:45 in the morning and got here at 12:45 at night, which was kind of crazy. Stopped in Murfreesboro for dinner and made it all in one stretch.
Murfreesboro, great place. That was one of the places where we'd get to rope when I was competing in team roping a lot. Every year, the Eastern Regional Finals, U.S. Championships would be there.
Home of ETSU, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and actually, way back in the day, Charlie Daniels used to have a team roping. He used to be into that, but he would have one, and it was on the MTSU. They had this little indoor deal.
Yeah.
Fun place, fun little town. Just a nice little place. Southeast of Nashville, I believe.
Yeah, about 40 miles outside of Nashville. Yeah, a little suburban.
Fun times. Let's see what else. Forrest comments that he believes that McCulley has the most upside of any quarterback on the roster. I can't say that that's not true right now, to be honest with you, because from what we've seen, to come in the situation that he came in, he you could see he was getting more comfortable with each snap, which is natural, but you could physically see it. I thought his comfort come along.
Well, I think he has accuracy issues right now, but he's got a strong arm and he can throw a little bit deep also. And he's a good athlete, as you know, and he's sturdy. He's a big kid, which I think will help in the Big Ten too, because as we've seen with Michael Penix and Jack Tuttle, you know, you're going to take hits, and can your body sustain that through the course of the season at a school like Indiana? And for Michael Penix and for Jack Tuttle, it has not. They've both been, sidelined with injuries, and it's kind of interesting too as a quarterback, right? Tom Brady talk about this, learning how to fall. You know, learning how to take a sack so that you're not jarred. I don't know.
That's true in anything, brother.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's something in that too with the quarterback injuries. Yeah, who knows? It's just, it seems like every year, for these last 2 or 3 years, an Indiana quarterback has gone down, has gotten hurt, and it's severely hampered the flow of the offense.
Let's see. 5 Left says Curbelo may be the only guard that IU guards don't have locked up this year. We'll see. I'm talking about the basketball. Ryan Kramer from up north. Mike Woodson show. He'll be there. That's
there you go.
Again, that's next Monday, man. Starts next Monday night at Southern Stone Restaurant. Again, located at Rogers and Patterson in Bloomington. It's a super good restaurant, man. The food is amazing. The seating, if you haven't been there, like lots of the glass, so there's lots of views. There's not a bad seat. It's getting cooler out now, so the balcony won't be or the patio won't be as much in use, but in the spring and fall, while it's warm, it's still warm enough. Awesome patio. It's a great place. So looking forward to that. But yeah, Tom Allen's show tomorrow night at 7:05 with Don Fisher. Then, of course, next Monday, as Don said on our show yesterday, Mike Whitchin's show starts. I can't believe it's here that soon already.
Yeah, and I guess a commenter referenced Curbelo, which is interesting. Yeah, you look around this league, and the guards. Who are the dynamic guards in this league? That's the thing that's interesting, because you got a lot of great big guys all around, but the guard play, I think, will dictate. You got Geo Baker and Ron Harper Jr., who's kind of a swingman out at Rutgers. You got guards. Yeah,
these guards are more experienced now. We saw them last year. Now we're going to get to see Trent Frazier, adds experience. You just mentioned Geo Baker and Rutgers. These guys have a little more experience now. Jaden Ivey. Yeah, I mean, it's Michigan. It's Indiana. There's in, so it's going to be fun to watch. I think this league is going to be more fun to watch this year than it was last year. Well, I think it's going to be more. I think the parity is going to be a closer than it was last year.
Izzo is very high on Tyson Walker too, the transfer from Northeastern. So that's going to be interesting too, as a speed guy. But I wonder. I do wonder. I think it's going to be. I think the league's going to be a little more top heavy. But you never know. Even a guy like Keegan Murray at Iowa, what if he's really good? Then all of a sudden Iowa gets in the mix a little bit, and then Wisconsin. You don't know. Really, Johnny Davis, I mean, does he take a step forward? But they lost a lot from kind of that core of players, and their chemistry kind of fell apart last year under guard. And are they going to be able to come back? And that'll be a good early test for Indiana going on the road against Wisconsin in December to kind of see where they're at.
Wyatt loves the motion offense. It's one of the best things that could have happened to basketball here of late. Well, it didn't happen here of late. It happened a long time ago with Bob Knight. Brought that in. Steve. Hey, Steve, kind of a new name. Really excited for next Tuesday at his age. He's got to settle down a little bit, but with the depth, at least top 5 in the Big Ten, will be a top 20 book it. That's Steve Prather thinks that. I mean, I think that they can be, of course. Will they be? I don't know. I can't predict how they will play and come together, but I know that they have the talent to be a top 25 team without question. I think that without question, they're going to be a tournament team simply by the fact that they've won these 3 games. Again, I keep going back to winning those first 2 games when you have barely been together against a team that has been together for a long time. It's a semi-pro team. Now, I don't know how much heart and soul they put into that game, the other team, but that just sent a message to me that, well, all right, these guys are going to play. So, I don't think there's going to be worries. This is not a team that's going to finish 9th in the Big Ten. This is not a team that's going to miss the tournament. This is not a team that's going to get blown out by 40 points by someone. They may lose some games, but they're not going to get it handed to them.
Well, you have one of the best, and listen, this has been going on for the Archie Miller the last 2 years too. You have one of the 10 best players in the country, arguably, in Trace Jackson Davis. How do you compliment him? How do you build around him? How do you make the game easier for others as well? And that's the thing. And do you get the guard play? Can Xavier Johnson be that dynamic point guard? Can Rob Finney stay healthy and raise his level of his offense to complement his defense? I think those are a lot of key factors going into it. But if you can get that, and you can get that kind of chemistry and gel and bond, and if the team can show improvement week to week, I think that's important too. That you don't have any lulls, and you've got an early schedule that's manageable where you can build that confidence and chemistry. Then maybe have something. Then maybe this first year with Mike Woodson can be more special than you think.
Absolutely. Someone mentioned, Ross, I think. Be interesting to see if the Colts make any moves today before the trade deadline. Yes, it will, but I'll be honest with you, man. I don't see how the Colts can recover. Not that there's a lot of season left, but man, at 2-5, that's just hard. They've lost 2 games. The Ravens and that game last night, they could have just won one of those games. Makes a gigantic difference, but they didn't. So, but yeah, you're right. It will be interesting to see what they can bolster. What are they going to do?
Are they 2-5, or are they? I thought they had 3 wins for some reason.
Maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe that just seems like it, but we'll see what happens if the trade. I don't know who would they try to get, who would they get rid of, what do they try to, what are they going to improve? Line,
maybe.
Well, exactly. Yeah, they're hurting there. Ty went out again with a concussion, and so they were down to barely no wide receivers last night. But hey, man, thanks a lot for another great day to you guys. Of course, Mike DeCourcy, Chronic Hoosier, and Kevin Brockway, of course, from CNHI Papers, and John, the producer. Most importantly, you guys. Without you all, there's no point in us being here. So we appreciate you so much. Back tomorrow, of course, to do it again. Let's see. Not even sure of Bob Kravitz tomorrow. Rick Bozich. We'll see what else we can get happening on, because the news happening today. We'll be back with it. Until then, go out and have yourselves a great day. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.